Like if you can simplify it, if you can perfect it and you can profit from it, then do it.
Welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, the weekly show for nomads, work campers, RVers, and entrepreneurs looking to earn a living or build a business while enjoying the RV lifestyle. This week's host is Rose Willard. Let's settle in and enjoy the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by RV Life.
Welcome back to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Rose Willard, your host this week, and my guest today is literally printing her way across the country. If you've ever wondered how to run a creative product-based business while living on the road, this episode is for you. Heather Applegate is a former archaeologist and photographer who transformed her love of travel, nature, and music into a thriving custom t-shirt and graphics business, all from her camper van. She's mastered the art of setting up shop at festivals, crafting unique designs on the spot, and embracing the freedom of nomadic living. In this episode, Heather will share how she turned her van into an off-grid mobile printing studio, the logistics of running a product-based business on the road, and her strategies for finding the best festivals and RV shows to showcase her work. Plus, she shares her top tips for simplifying your product and staying profitable, along with some of the most unique requests she's gotten from customers. It's amazing how she makes it all work, so let's get right into it. But first, let me ask you this. Are you still struggling with weak campground Wi-Fi? King Wi-Fi antennas are the solution to boost your internet experience. These powerful antennas pick up and amplify Wi-Fi signals from up to a mile away, ensuring you stay connected wherever you park. With easy setup, secure VPN networks, and support for multiple devices, you'll enjoy fast, reliable internet on the go. Say goodbye to slow connections and hello to seamless browsing and streaming. Choose between the King Wi-Fi Max Pro, King Swift, and King Falcon models. See why King has been a connectivity leader for over 2 decades. For more information, visit kingconnect.com. Our podcast listeners can save 15% with code RVE2024 at checkout. Hey, Heather, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, I am so glad I'm finally getting to chat with you because a while back I interviewed Neil Gibson of Nomad Electric. That was episode number 332. And he shared a story about how he built and fixed an electrical system for a client's van that allowed her to run her t-shirt and graphic business off-grid from the road. And I just thought that was way cool. And he told me your name and I thought, I just have to contact this lady and have you, see if you want to be on the show. And here you are. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I owe a lot to Neil. He saved my butt in more ways than one.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. I wanna chat about that too later in the show here. But yeah, I'm also very fascinated with graphic design and I frequently dabble in creating fun stuff on Canva just for fun. So I can't wait to chat more about what you do. So you currently run a t-shirt and graphics business off-grid, out of your van, and you've been doing it for about 3 years from the van, and you have a home base in Tennessee. But take us back a bit when you were first introduced to the RV life, and what does that look like now?
So I have been wanting to basically live nomadically out of a van since the dawn of time, since before it was cool on Instagram, so like at least 20 years back. My background is in archaeology, so I traveled around a lot doing archaeology all over the country. Went to the UK to do my master's, did archaeology over there. But when I had to come back to the States, I knew that I wanted to go back. Like I wanted to maybe not do archaeology, but be nomadic. I never wanted to own property or anything like that. I always just had it in the back of my mind that I was going to be nomadic, live in a van. I didn't know how the heck I was going to do it. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I had no idea I had no idea of this business happening. So I just kind of had it in the back of my mind that was going to happen eventually. And then 3 years ago, I was finally able to, I had gotten other vehicles that I could potentially live out of. But 3 years ago, I was able to buy a van that was large enough for me to A, live out of, B, have my business in, and actually go about the country and do this. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. The being nomadic is in your blood, and I love that you went for it. So this graphic design business is entrepreneurial, but what did you really do before this?
So, for eons, I was an archaeologist, and then when I came back from the UK, I had to come back to Tennessee because it was basically a free place to live. I'm on old family property here that has been in my family since before the Revolutionary War. And coincidentally, the same week I had to move back from the UK, my mom was moving to this property to be like a caretaker for it. Um, and it had an apartment off the back of the main house. So it just kind of worked out that I would also move here. And I thought I was only going to stay for like a year or whatever. And now it's like 10 years later, and I'm like still working on my plan to like exit. But in that time, that gave me the ability to build a business. Because when I moved to Tennessee, I couldn't find a job really that paid enough to like really live off of or anything. Like people would look at my background and be like, well, what else can you do but dig holes? I don't I don't know. It was very difficult to find a job here. So I just I did substitute teaching. I did some merchandising for a plant company. But I always I was pretty good at photography. So I picked up a camera and I started shooting friends, products for their businesses. And then that progressed. Like one of my friends has had a granddaughter. She was selling kids clothes, making kids clothes. So I would photograph her granddaughter in her clothing that she was making. And so that kind of snowballed into a whole photography business, family photography business. And I did that for about 5 years, and burnt out on it. But during that, I was asked to design some shirts for a store that I was selling out of downtown. And so I was like, all right, I've never done that, but sure, I'll design a few shirts in Photoshop and see what happens. So put the shirts up for sale, and wham, bam, here we are 8 years later, and I have a t-shirt business. So it's kind of like just snowballed out of whatever. It just kind of happened, and here we are. So
Well, that's amazing. You just slid right into entrepreneurship, and you
yeah,
kind of took that risk, and
exactly. Yeah, I just
it
kind of
worked out. Yeah.
went with it, and it's worked out perfectly. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. And you kind of learn as you went.
Exactly. Yeah. I had no idea because I do sublimation. I didn't even know that was a thing
Mhm.
when I
Yeah.
started. I was these guys down the road from me who have a moonshine business. They also had a print company, and so I was asking them, or they were printing their labels and they were using sublimation, and so I went over there and they showed me how to do it and what they were doing. And then I had them printing my shirts at first, and then I was like, well, I can do it myself. So I went all in and got equipment and started with the basics, and it just kind of all unraveled from there, all snowballed. I ended up getting all my own equipment, doing it all myself. Eventually getting a 2,000 square foot warehouse to work out of, all this stuff. And yeah, now I'm back down to the van and my apartment basically, and a storage unit, and that's about it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because I've been slowly progressing into getting it into nomadic mode.
Right. You're downsizing
Yeah,
again. Yeah.
exactly.
Perfect. So, what does being an entrepreneur mean to you then?
Well, it's a lot more than owning your own business. It's the creativity behind it. It's throwing yourself whole, like hook, line, and sinker in all your money, all of your time. Um, Most of all, just doing your own thing and not slapping something on it. Like for t-shirt business, I mean, you could get graphics off of Etsy or whatever and have somebody else print them out, slap them on a t-shirt, sell them at an event. But like that to me is not, it is your own business obviously, but it's not the whole entrepreneurship thing to me. So the fact that I do all of it from zero to end product is more what entrepreneurship means to me. Being innovative, being creative, being resourceful, using what you have, building it up. I think that's all encompassing to me.
Yeah, that is very, very good. Well put. It's such a craft, and you treat it as a
Yeah,
whole.
I mean, a
It's
lot of people
you.
print T-shirts. I've got to work hard to set myself apart. So,
Yes, true. That's very good. And so what inspired you to choose this nomadic lifestyle now for your business instead of staying big like you
well,
were?
I hate staying in one place. I'm very bad at it. I can't even believe I've been here this long, but it's taken me this long to really build it so that I could get to that nomadic space and be
Right.
able to support myself on it. But I've always been a traveler. I go to Europe every chance I get. I still have a lot of friends over there. I know I when I found out about the work camping thing, I really wanted to do work camping, and I may still do that off and on, like between festivals and stuff.
Hmm.
But that always appealed to me. Never being in one place very long.
Hmm.
I want to see it all. I've been to all 50 states, but like I'll do it again a million times over. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Just because you've been to 50 states, it
who
doesn't
cares?
mean that you've
There's
seen
always
all.
something to
Right.
see. There's always people to see. I've got
That's
friends all
right.
over the country. Like
Right.
I can't imagine just buying a house and being stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that is completely unappealing to me.
Yeah, I can relate. I'm in a house right now temporarily, and we are so itching to get back out. We
Right.
have a we have a van. We have a Road Trek Zion Slumber for
Hmm.
a family of 4 that we go out back and forth. And I'm excited because we're going to the Hershey RV show
Oh
for
yeah.
with
Yep.
RV Life, yeah, to do the workshop there. And so we're so excited. Anyways, how did you transition the business from brick and mortar to more van life?
Yeah,
How did you?
so because that's a work in progress right now, and hopefully by next year I'll have that all settled. Basically, I've
Mhm.
been downsizing. I had a 2,000 square foot warehouse or workshop, basically, until last summer. And I finally got rid of that and I moved everything into a storage unit in my apartment. um, and I, when I bought the van, I knew I wanted to be on the road with it. So I have a ProMaster 2500, not the extended, just the 159 base. I
Mhm.
built my bed up high enough so that everything I need for festivals, my inventory, my machines, everything fits under my bed. So I don't have to see it. It's all the business side is under my bed and the rest of it is all living space. So
That's important.
yeah,
Yeah, you don't
purpose
wanna see
built.
your work. Yeah. Mhm.
um, and when I unpack it, everybody's like, "Holy cow!" It's like a clown car for
Yeah,
your
for
entire
sure.
business. But yeah, so I've been working on getting rid of a bunch of inventory, downsizing, really niching down the products I want to offer. So I do t-shirts, obviously. I do sweatshirts, all that apparel, and I do some smaller stuff like Christmas ornaments are a big thing, photo ornaments. But those are little tiny things that I can, carry
Mhm.
around with me. It's not that big of a deal, and I can get them as needed. Um, and then maybe some bags or something like that, tote bags, something, little. But like I don't do 300 different products. There's just no need for me to do that. If a company comes to me and they want something, then I can always outsource it or tell them where they get it. But I really try to specialize in the apparel side of it.
Okay.
So
Well,
that
that's
really
smart.
helps in getting stuff on the
Storing.
road and not having
Mhm.
so much stuff.
Right. Yeah, and how about your printing equipment and all that stuff? Did
Yeah.
that
So
have
I
to
have
downsize? Mhm.
Yep, I've got it down. So I've got a really large heat press at my house right now, and I'll just put that in storage for when I'm back in base every so often and use it. But I've got one I travel around with, and then I've got a mug press and I've got a hat press, and those are relatively small. Um, and then I've got my printer. My printer is a 24-inch printer, but I am currently working on building like a desk unit in my van that will sit on top of and provide a lot of storage. So I'm building around that. Right now I have a smaller printer I print with, but that just kicked the bucket this weekend in the heat and
Oh.
humidity, I think.
Mhm.
So I will be building around this 24-inch printer because it's just so efficient and just needed, and it'll fit. I'll make it fit.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So
And
you
then
mentioned,
the
yeah, go
solar,
ahead.
obviously.
Mhm.
Neil, when I don't know if he told you how he met me, but I had posted on one of the Facebook groups that I needed help with my solar because I had had it built by somebody, but it was not working at all. So I put a little post on Facebook saying I'm going to be out in Quartzsite. Can somebody help me out? Like, just have a look and tell me like what the damage is. And his wife reached out to me and was like, "Hey, my husband does solar. He'd be happy to have a look." And so when I got out to Quartzsite, I met up with them,
Mhm.
and it was a disaster. There was nothing like we weren't going to work on it then, but he was just like, "This needs a complete overhaul." Um, so I she was a traveling nurse at the time, and it coincidentally happened when I learned this when I got out there that her next assignment was in Johnson City, Tennessee, where I live. And we had no idea. And so they were going to be back in Johnson City the exact same time that I was planning on coming back here. And so they ended up staying on my farm for 6 months during her assignment and camping out here in their van. So it all just kind of worked out. And he ended up doing the solar on his van, my solar, and taught me how it works and everything. It was brilliant. And we hooked up the heat press to it, flipped the switch, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is what I needed to hit the
Mhm.
road
Mhm.
was the ability to like work my presses off of my solar. And
Oh, that's
it was just
awesome.
magic that day.
That sounds magic. So you can create all your creations with your equipment, your printers, your heat
Yep.
press. How long can you do that for with this new system?
Um, about a 4 hour block of time. I don't have a huge battery bank. I have 300
Okay.
amp hours.
Okay.
But when we hooked it up and we, ran the Bluetooth off of it,
Mhm.
it would work out for on a sunny day. I could run it for about 4 hours straight,
Mhm.
which is a good chunk of time. I could get a lot done in that time.
Yeah.
Usually at a festival, I am hooked up to electricity, so I don't have to worry about it. And I don't have my van next to me, but when I'm out in Quartzsite, I do. I can I set up in Tyson Wells and do all that. But um, yeah, so but if I'm in the middle of nowhere and want to work, I can do
Yeah.
that. I can just plug it up to the back of my 3,000-watt inverter and go to town.
Right. You are limitless. I
Yeah.
love that. Perfect. So how do you get inspired for these creations?
Where I go, all my traveling, because my themes around my designs are all outdoors, nature inspired, traveling, music. I do a lot of bluegrass festivals and music festivals.
Mhm.
So a lot of music themed um, designs. And then customers will come up to me and be like, "Hey, do you have this? Or have you thought of doing this? Or do you have this saying? Or whatever." Or I'll have something similar to what they want, but then they want me to change it. Like I don't know, this weekend I was at a bluegrass festival and I have Bigfoot holding a mandolin and they're like, "Can you make one with Bigfoot holding a fiddle?" So like I'll make that. So like little
Yeah.
things like that. And I'll always get input from customers, random people
Yeah.
walking by.
I bet they love that. I would love that if someone could do that, like,
Yeah.
right on the spot. That is
Yeah.
so cool.
It was a big
That's
hit in Quartzsite last year. I just started
Mhm.
really printing at shows before. Before I would just make everything ahead of time, but now
Yeah.
that I'm downsizing and it's a lot easier for me to just bring the inventory and print it on the spot for people.
Mhm.
And they
Yeah.
think it is absolutely magical that I could just make a design on the spot, print it out, and put it on a shirt for them, and they
Bam.
can watch
There
the
it
whole
is.
process happen. Like they just think that's awesome.
That is
It is pretty
awesome.
awesome.
So most of your creations, like, out on the road is happening kinda out in the festivals, you're out away from your van, but when you can create in the van, you talked a little bit about your setup, but how do you work in there? What is it like? Are you doing a little bit at a time? Where's the printer set up?
So the
Where's
printer, so basically I have a couple of I have like I have my bed in there, but I have I got a couple of big cedar chests, and one of them is my couch basically now, and it's my food storage and my refrigerator storage and everything. And I got them real cheap. I have like basically a no build. I got stuff cheap off of, I spent all my money on solar, and got cheap, got the cedar chest for like $40 off of Facebook Marketplace. And I got an old dresser to be my kitchen. So I've got basically a U-shaped setup in my living area of my van. So I've got the two chests, the printer will sit on one, and the couch is my other one. So I just work from there, and all I need is my laptop and the printer, and I'm good to go. Like, I need very little things to make the actual product. So yeah.
Right. And it's all sublimation. Can you explain that a little bit for people who may not understand what that is?
Yeah, so sublimation is different from, there's screen printing. The main printing things are sublimation, DTF, which is direct to film, DTG, which is direct to garment, which is the same as DTF, but you're printing to a film instead of directly to the garment. And then there's screen printing. So I usually do sublimation. That's my 95% of the time I'm doing sublimation. Because I have unlimited color. Basically, a sublimation printer, think of it almost like an inkjet printer, prints pretty much the same way. If you were to look at my printer, you'd be like, that's an inkjet printer. You wouldn't know the difference. But the ink is heat activated, and it turns into a gas, which permeates the fabric. So you never feel it on the shirt. So it's not like a piece of plastic that's covering your shirt. Or that's scratchy, anything, nothing can scratch off. It's there for life. It lasts a lot longer than a DTF or a screen print would. So those are the upsides of it. The downside is I can't print white, and the design has to be darker than the shirt. So if I was to print on a black shirt, I would have to do DTF or screen printing, which sometimes I do that, and clients will want black shirts. I print for a lot of coffee houses and cafes and stuff, and they always want a darker shirt. So I always have to just explain the process to them. And so it just, whatever the design warrants for what they want, then I'll use that method. But 99% of the time I'm doing sublimation. It's my preferred.
So I have to ask, I know inkjet printers, their ink, so expensive.
Yeah.
So what about like the sublimation stuff? Like, how expensive is that? How long does it last?
It lasts forever, actually. It lasts, well, it depends on the printer you have. I use Epsom printers. I just think they're far superior sublimation printers. They're usually the go-to for a lot of people. But I have an Epsom sublimation printer, F570. And the ink for that is actually relatively, because you can get off-brand ink, which is what I use. It works perfectly fine. You don't need to get the Epsom ink. If you were to get Epsom ink, it would be about $40 a bottle, but it'll last you, depends on how much you're printing, but with me, with how much I print a lot, but it'll still last me, a whole bottle will last me months. So it's a fairly inexpensive process. And because you're not building screens and such, it can be more cost effective for the clients as well. It just depends how many shirts they're getting. It does take longer to print it than a screen print, but cost wise, it all kind of works out in the wash. Just depends on the number of products they're getting or whatever. But Epsom, like the ink actually lasts a lot longer than like a standard inkjet printer, because that lasts about 20 minutes. Sometimes it feels like that.
It does.
It's awful.
Cool RV is more than just a solution for summer heat. Whether you're chasing the sun or enjoying the crisp fall and winter air, your RV can stay cozy and comfortable year-round. With many modern air conditioners featuring built-in heat pumps, Cool RV ensures you get maximum performance in any weather. Improve your AC's efficiency for cooling and heating, so you can focus on the adventure ahead no matter the season. Stay cool when it's hot and warm when it's not with Cool RV. Cool RV, enhancing your RV comfort all year long. Visit coolrv.com to learn more. Podcast listeners save 5% with code RVLIFE.
What kind of strategies do you use to build your clientele while you're on the move? How do you bring those people in? I mean, you go to
Yeah.
festivals. That's a great
Yeah.
way in
Festivals is the
person.
big one because I can meet infinite amounts of people there. Literally thousands of people a day. And that is the best way for me to gain clients, especially wholesale clients.
Mm-hmm.
Um, eh, or it could be like I was at the Big Tent RV show last year, and I got a lot of clients with YouTube channels that wanted merch for themselves or for giveaways or whatever. And then I meet a lot of bands at festivals. I'm doing a band's shirts this week. They liked one of my designs and they're like, "Can you put our name on it?" And I was like, "Sure, I can." So I ended up doing that for them. I'm doing some more for them by the end of the week.
Mm-hmm.
So I get a lot that way. And a lot of people own their own businesses these days. So they'll be walking around a craft fair and they see me printing shirts. And that's another reason I print shirts there. They can physically see me doing it. And they're like, "Ooh, I can get this person to print my shirts. Brilliant." Or
Mm-hmm.
they've never thought of having merch for their business, or employee shirts. I do a lot for construction companies around here or window cleaning businesses. It could be anything. A lot of cafes and coffee shops. I'll do drinkware for them. I'll do mugs, coasters, stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it's festivals. Probably 75% of my business comes from that. Word of mouth is a big one. Somebody will see t-shirts from one business and they'll be like, "Ooh, I want stuff for my business. Who does your printing?" So yeah, I get a lot of business that way, and then a very small percentage on social media and stuff because like that's just
Right. Yeah.
algorithms. I don't know.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
terrible.
It's too
So
much.
yeah, it's almost 100% word of mouth in festivals.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine. And then how do you apply? I don't know if apply is the right way to say this, but how do you find these festivals?
Yeah, that is practically a full-time job in and of itself. Doing all the research behind finding good festivals. I mean, anybody can find a festival on any given
Right.
weekend. There's
Mhm,
10 going on around me.
mhm.
The issue becomes finding the good ones, the ones that people are going to show up to, the ones with a big enough crowd size to vendor ratio. For me, I've been doing it for so long. I've been doing festivals for about 8 years now. Um, so I have a good track record with ones I do every year. There's been ones I've been doing for 8 years now, and I will never leave them because they're so good. And now I've built up a clientele at those festivals. They come looking for me, like they know where I am, they know where my booth is going to be. They come and hunt me down. But yeah, there's festival websites. There's websites that list festivals per state.
Mhm.
There's sites like Eventi that list them. Some people do those. Eventbrite. Everywhere you can look, just look.
Yeah.
Facebook is probably the biggest one. I just look under Facebook events, or things will pop up because algorithm,
Mhm.
and I'll just click on them and I'll see what their following is, what kind of advertising they're doing. I'll look at past. Sometimes they'll give you a sheet saying this was our crowd size this year. This is the demographic of the area. Those are brilliant. Those are fantastically organized events, and I know if they do that, it's probably a good event because they're on top of things. Because if the organizer isn't organized, then forget it. Like it's not worth my time probably. Um, so yeah, I look at crowd size versus vendor ratio. Like if they have 300 vendors, but they're only getting 3,000 people at the event, that's probably not a good event for me.
Mhm.
I like to see crowds of upwards of 15,000, 20,000, upwards of 100,000. I want the big events. Because odds are I'm not the only t-shirt printer there. And so I want a good crowd size to vendor ratio. And I want
Mhm.
to see good vendors. I don't want to see a bunch of MLMs. Um,
Mm.
I don't want to see Scentsy next to me or paparazzi. I want to see handmade jewelry. So I look at vendor lists. I look at past event photos. Anything I can get my hands on to tell
Mhm.
me anything about those events, I'll be looking at it. I'll search Facebook for the event and I'll look at posts. Usually vendors will do some reviews on them, so I'll look those up. Yeah, anything I can sink my teeth into, I will find.
That is so smart.
A lot of
And
word of mouth. Vendors talk,
yeah,
and if an event is
right.
bad, like we'll talk about it. We
That's
will
right.
not let it be a secret. So yeah,
Listen up, eventies. Yeah,
yeah,
listen up. Yeah. So, have you ever done any RV shows?
I have. Yeah. So
Okay.
the first one I did, yeah, well, the only one I've done so far was the big tent show. Go big or go home. Do the biggest one.
Right. Yeah.
So I went out last winter to Quartzsite, and
Hmm.
I signed up for the big tent show.
Hmm.
And so I had a booth outside in the thoroughfare, and that was great. I met so many people, so many like, and I got a lot of business out of like people saw me printing, and they're like, "Oh, you can make our merch. How does that happen?" I was like, "Just email me your logo, and I'll put it on a shirt for you. Take your pick."
Right.
And so they can pick their shirt color right then and there, and
Hmm. Hmm.
they just email me their logo, and I'll get it get it up for them. So yeah, I met a lot of YouTubers, met a lot of full time RV families,
Yeah.
and they may have never heard that they could do merch. They didn't think it was realistic or like a possibility, or they just wanted shirts for themselves to walk around the events with,
Yeah.
which was really cool because I could just make them a handful. I made a bunch of sweatshirts for a schooly family, so that was cool.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I met a lot of like a tire business. Like there's just so many businesses set up there that the potential is just crazy for me.
Perfect.
um, and then I set up in I the next a few days later after that show, I just went over across the road to Tyson Wells and set up in there for another couple weeks. So, and that was really cool because you could just meet all sorts of people over there, and
Oh
just
my
sell to the
goodness.
general public.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sounds sounds like your business is rocking. This is great. And the fact that you can move around
yeah,
just helps immensely.
that's my favorite part.
So, yeah. So, since your business is product based, how do you handle some of these logistical aspects of running a business? Okay, we talked about finding the events, right?
Yep.
But tax considerations, when you're kind of in one state, your
Hmm.
domicile, but now you're going to sell in a different state. How
Yeah.
does that work? And then
So
getting more inventory.
yeah, so a lot of the events they do tell you exactly what to do, like, and they'll have the
Mhm.
forms ready for you, or they'll tell you where to go to
Yeah.
sort that out. Each state has their own tax laws, obviously, and each county,
Hmm.
city, I could be paying county fees, city fees. I did Bonnaroo in June. I had to pay a county fee, a
Wow.
city fee,
Hmm.
and then another state. I don't know. I had Tennessee, but it didn't count for Manchester, Tennessee. It only like it was just so
Oh
it was an
man.
extra $200 in fees on top of the booth fee. So that's stuff you have to keep in mind when you do this.
Yeah.
Um, but so North Carolina, I vend a lot in North Carolina. That's where I do most of my shows at the moment.
Hmm.
And so I have a tax certificate for North Carolina because that's just how they do it, instead of a
Hmm.
one off. So I do quarterly sales tax to them, and then Tennessee, obviously, because I'm domicile here. And then so when I go to Quartzsite, theirs is really simple. You go to the town hall and you get a business license. It's like $50, and
Hmm.
it's good for 6 months, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm good for the whole season, no matter where I'm vending.
Hmm.
And then I don't have to worry about it again. And then you just pay it at the end of the season. Once you're done, you just send your sales tax in, and it's
Yeah.
easy. I think Virginia's like that. South Carolina's like that. I'll find out if West Virginia's like that because that'll be my first show there. But yeah, the shows tend to make it really easy. They tend to send you the links for where to sign up for your tax certificate and all that stuff. So it's fairly simple process. And then when you go to pay your tax, it's usually all online. It's pretty simple to keep track of all that stuff.
Hmm.
And then I run all of my sales through Square. So to keep it simple, I just use one app, and then at tax time, it's all in there. Um, so that tends to keep things a little simpler. I know people that use 15 different ways to have people pay them, but I'm like, that's stop it.
Um, yeah.
Like I'm not dealing with that come tax time.
No. I like your theme. Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Hmm.
Just don't
Hmm.
overcomplicate things.
Yeah. I think that definitely contributes to your success
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. So, what is your favorite item to create?
Well, shirts are my bread and butter.
Okay.
But I do love photo ornaments because those are always fun. People will be hunting through their phone, and once they find out I can just print them on the spot, they're like, "Ooh, let me find a good picture." And so that's pretty fun to
Oh,
like
that's
go through
awesome.
those with
Yeah.
them and being like, "Oh, this will
Hmm.
print well. This then maybe not this one."
Hmm.
But I'll be doing that shortly at a in the town next to mine. There's the uh, conference, International Storytelling Festival every October, and so I'll be setting up there and probably printing ornaments there and T-shirts on the spot for people. That's just in. I'll be set up in the store that I sell out of downtown there.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I do like the photo ornaments are fun. I do a lot of pillowcases. People have fun with that one because they like a lot of custom stuff. Anything that I could do custom, any weird requests. Like I'm always like, if you got a weird request, I'll do it. I'll come up with
Yeah.
some design. If you don't have one, like I'll. If the weirder the better. Like if it's creative, like I'll have fun with it. So I
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff that kind of makes my brain work.
Hmm. Yeah. I was going to ask, what's the most unique thing you've created for a
So,
customer?
so
If you
I've
can
got
share
this.
that.
Yeah, I've got this one repeat client. She's a local here, and she came to me one day, her first time using me as a printer, and she's like, "So me and my friend have this inside joke that we're both potatoes," and I was like, "Okay,
Oh.
go on." And
Hmm.
I was like, um, she's like, "We're going to go on a trip to Disney World, but first we call ourselves couch potatoes. So could we get shirts that have potatoes sitting on couches?" And I was like, "I could do that. Yeah, sure." So I made these like potato shirts for her, and oh my gosh, they were over the moon. They just thought that was the coolest thing ever. So then, like every few months or every month, it seemed like it was constant. I would make her a new potato shirt. Like they would go on a trip to Disney World. They're like, "We need potatoes in Disney World." So I was like, done. And then they got married and they're like, "I need a potato getting married with a bridesmaid on a beach." And I was like, done. We're good. Like I got it. So I have made a lot of potato shirts at this point doing weird things. And yeah, so
This is great. You sound like you have so much fun. This
yeah.
is
I've gotten some
awesome.
off the wall requests, but that's probably my favorite one.
Yeah. No, I love it. I love it. As we're heading into the fall and eventually this holiday season, what is your busiest time of year? Do you think
This
that's
time
it
of
or?
year. So
Yeah.
I finished one festival on Sunday night, and then it's basically every weekend from here on until November or mid
Mm-hmm.
November. Every weekend of September, I think I've got one free weekend the last weekend of October right now, but I'll probably book something. I'll probably find something to fill that with.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Um, and then my last show will be December 7th. And then I'll just focus on getting Christmas orders out and two people on time for Christmas, and then I'll call it, and then I'll
Right.
head
Yeah.
west. But yeah, September and October, those set me up for winter. Even if I didn't do anything over the winter, I'd
Mm-hmm.
be good.
Yeah.
Just filling my calendar.
Mm-hmm.
September and October, those are the busiest
Yeah.
months by far.
Yeah. How many festivals and all that stuff do you need to get in a year to feel like, okay, I'm keeping my income where I need it to be?
I like to book a lot because festivals are unpredictable. Like I
Yeah.
do have a few predictable ones where
Mm-hmm.
I know a ballpark of what my goal is, and hopefully, if the weather's good and it's all good, then I'll make this number.
Right.
I try to book 25 to 30 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And next year I'll probably do more than that since I'll be on the road full time basically.
Mm-hmm.
um, but in the I want to like be out west through the spring next year. So
Yeah.
I know there's a bunch in Colorado I want to try, and it's all a lot of trial and error. So I try to book a lot because if one fails, then I have one the next weekend that'll hopefully make up for it. So I never want to like put all my eggs in one basket and be like, okay, I'll just do one big one in October. Well, if the weather is awful and it storms the whole time, well, then you're up a
Yeah.
creek and you don't
Mm-hmm.
have a backup. So I try to book as many as possible. Um, I might even do two in one weekend if one's Saturday and one's Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that happens. Um, And yeah, I'll book as many as I possibly can because I
That's
love doing
smart.
it. Festivals are so much
Yeah.
fun for me. I know a lot of people do it just because they have to, like to make money, but I'm
Hmm.
one of those weirdos that actually loves doing them. So they're
I
a
think
lot of
it's
work, but I
great.
love them.
Yeah, it's perfect for your lifestyle. I mean, you like to be outside, you
Yeah.
want to be with people. It's great.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, what is your average, like a good average, day, like at a festival for you, financially?
Well, it greatly because I'll do festivals that are huge and I'll do almost five figures at one in two
Mm-hmm.
days.
Oh, wow.
Or I try to aim, my goal is always at least $100 an hour that I'm out there. I
Mm-hmm.
usually far surpass that, but
Okay.
it's a good minimum to hit
Yeah.
to make it worth it for me to go back or to, if I
Yeah.
like make less than that, then it's kind of a one and
Not
done
worth it.
show. It's
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of setup, it's a lot of time, it's
Right.
driving there, it's,
Mm-hmm.
setup, breakdown, that all counts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the product itself, obviously.
Right.
Um, and covering your booth fee. I know a lot of people do festivals and they're like, well, if I just cover my booth fee, that's cool. And I'm like, no, not if you're
No.
making a living at it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? So yeah, I mean, I've definitely done some flops that, I've barely made booth fee back at.
Mm-hmm.
But like I
That's
said, those
part
are
of
one
it,
and
though.
dones, and I try
Yeah.
and book a lot of shows so I
Mm-hmm.
don't do that, and I do a lot of research ahead of time so that I
Mm-hmm.
don't end up at those kind of shows.
Right.
But sometimes you can't help it. The weather is terrible, or it's just a complete
Mm-hmm.
washout, or the wind
Mm-hmm.
just completely,
Oh,
wipes
man.
you out. Because we've had that one year. My biggest festival of the year is Woolly Worm in Banner Elk, North Carolina, and that is my biggest selling event. I will never not do that event. But in 2018, they had to cancel on Sunday. We had Saturday, but Saturday night, basically a tornado came through and wiped all of us out.
Oh,
We showed up Sunday morning and it was complete decimation. So yeah, everybody's tents were on the ground in shambles, and yeah, it was a
oh,
wreck.
man.
So at least we had that Saturday and it was good. But that's the kind of stuff you can't predict really. That was a
No.
microburst that came through and
Mm-hmm.
nobody saw it coming.
And you still
Um,
have to pay that fee,
exactly. You're
right? You don't
still
get that
out
back.
that, $400, $300 booth fee. You're still,
Wow.
if your
Mm-hmm.
product gets ruined, well,
Mm.
luckily I have shirts, and that particular day it was just wind that hit us, not rain. So I didn't have anything,
Yeah.
damaged.
You have a tent though also, right?
Yeah, we
That
have a
was something
canopy. I
like,
have a canopy.
yeah.
It holds up pretty well, but it wasn't about to hold up to 60, 70
No.
mile an hour winds. So
No.
yeah, it was a wreck, but that's what we have, insurance for and all that stuff. So
Right. Right. Part of the journey.
it's all part of it. It's
That's
kind of
right.
what you sign up for when you do this. So yeah.
Right, right. Real quick, I forgot to ask, what are the best states for festivals in your opinion so far? I know you haven't been to
Best states,
all of them.
Western North Carolina is really good for me.
Okay.
Um, and then I'm about to find out about West Virginia. I've heard it's awesome. That was a
Hmm.
recommendation from my aunt. She's like, you have to go to this. So I was like,
Yeah.
all right, that's good
Okay.
enough. Um, and then there's a ton of them though. Like there's a lot in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Tennessee. There's just every weekend you could take your pick,
Just,
which
yeah.
is handy because if one's terrible, then you can find another one.
Hmm.
Um, and then I know a lot of people go to Florida for theirs. I don't, Florida's not on my radar of states that I ever want to go to again. So that's okay. And then I really want to get out to Colorado and try some of those out there. I've not vended in, well, I did back in the day with my photography, like a couple times because I lived out there for a little bit, but I really want to go to Colorado and try a lot of they have a ton of bluegrass festivals in the mountains in the spring and summer. So I really want to try that. I love bluegrass festivals, music festivals of all sorts. Those are just super fun. And then I did really well in quartzite. So I really want to try some more Arizona ones. I want to try
Hmm.
Tucson,
Yeah.
Phoenix area. Perhaps after quartzite, I might try something in Tucson, because I know there's a bunch in the spring that start up around then. So yeah, and I
Mm-hmm.
love Tucson. It's beautiful. So
Oh, I'm so excited for you. It sounds wonderful. New
yeah,
stuff to
now
explore.
that I'm going to be in the van completely, like it's just so
Yeah,
much easier for me to pick shows, around that I
right.
want to go to.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
yeah.
So as we wrap up here, what is your best advice for other product-based business owners who are considering this nomadic life for their business?
Yeah. Simplify,
Mm-hmm.
perfect what you're doing, and then focus and profit. Like if you can
Yeah.
simplify it, if you can perfect it and you can profit from it, then do it. You can figure out the rest as you go, as I have. You can figure out the space you need for it. You can always outsource if need be for certain products.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get stuff shipped to you all over. So if I'm out in Arizona, I'm not taking all my inventory with, like, I'm not carrying it with me
Right.
from Tennessee all the way out to Arizona. I just get it shipped to the show for me, or to
Mm-hmm.
Tyson Wells. They always have ability to get mail sent to you wherever, UPS, anything. You can get it shipped all over. So yeah, just simplify, simplify, simplify is my my thing. Niche down. You don't need to make 600 things. Just because you can make 600 things doesn't mean you have to make 600 things. So I would, take a look at your target market that you want to hit, and hone in.
That is great. Heather, you've given such wonderful advice, some great nuggets of wisdom here. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You're doing it, and you're doing it from the van. That's so
Yep.
cool. Yeah.
Goals. It's been a 20-year goal in progress. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. It takes time. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Good for
Definitely
you.
don't try to rush things. Just get it right, basically. So
That's
I'm
right.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
impatient, but I'm
Yeah.
working on it.
No, sounds good. And stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So, Heather, this has been great. Please let the audience know where we can find you online
Yeah.
and where you'll be next.
So I am at Bristol Rhythm and Roots in Bristol, Tennessee, and Virginia. I'm on the Virginia
Mm-hmm.
side. And then my website is nomadicgraphicsllc.com. And on Facebook, I'm Nomadic Graphics. On Instagram, I am nomadic.graphics. And I'm on Etsy. You can search Nomadic Graphics. You'll find me. Yeah, so I'm pretty much everywhere.
That's awesome. Now we're recording September. This is going to go live in November. Where
Yeah.
will you be in November?
November, I
December?
will be still in Tennessee. I'll be doing a couple of shows in Jonesboro, Tennessee, which is near where I live. And then
Mm-hmm.
November kind of winds down. I've got one more show in Jonesboro in December, and that'll be it before I hit the road and go west. And then they can find me in Quartzsite.
Yay, go
Yep.
find her. Awesome. And I'm going to put all your links in these show notes.
Okay.
So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks
Good
for having
luck
me.
with the rest of your festivals and making that move to full time next year. We're so excited for you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I had such a great time chatting with Heather. Her business is not only fun, but very innovative, bringing her custom printing services directly to her customers right from her camper van, even while off grid. What really stood out to me in this episode was Heather's commitment to simplifying her business and perfecting her craft. By focusing on sublimation printing and streamlining her product offerings, she's created a successful business model that truly shines. Instead of simply taking her brick and mortar shop on the road, she's transformed it into something exceptional. And I love how she leverages the freedom of the road to connect with new clients and create custom designs on the spot. It's a powerful reminder that as nomadic entrepreneurs, we have the flexibility to shape our businesses around our lifestyles while staying true to our passions. Heather's transition from archaeologist to mobile business owner is incredibly inspiring, and I hope you gained as much insight from this episode as I did. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What stood out to you, and what were your key takeaways? Share those insights in the RV Entrepreneur Facebook group. And be sure to check out these show notes to connect with Heather and find out where she'll be next. You might just catch her at one of her shows and grab some amazing custom swag for your brand. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.
Your RV adventures are worth sharing. With an RV Life profile, you can connect with a community of RV enthusiasts, engage in meaningful conversations, and inspire others on their journey. It's not just about where you go, it's about the memories you make and the people you meet along the way. Start sharing your unique RV experiences at rvlife.com.